Hey everyone, and welcome back to another week of Shiggles. I am that guy Rickster,
Hi, Darian here, guys.
and this week I want to get things started off with a TikTok video I saw. Well, first of all, I heard about it on another podcast. They were talking about, it, so I went to look for it and sent it to you and everything. But the gist of the whole thing is, there's this nurse. She works at a hospice care. And basically, one of her patients there, hospice is where people go to, like, when they're ready to move on to the next plane. So he asked her to contact his son that he hasn't spoken to in like 10 years, to get the son to come visit him in hospice before he dies. The son answers the phone. He tells the nurse, no, I'm not going to come there. So she goes, but he's like, but when he does die, let me know. So the nurse goes back and tell the father, "Hey, your son said he's not going to come." He's going to get upset with her, saying, "Did you tell him that he has to come? That I'm dying and whatever?" And she's like, "Yes, I did." And he said he doesn't want to come. So he's going to be all upset with her, saying she should have done more to get his son to come. And I'm like, you have some nerve. You know the reason why your son is saying he's not coming to visit you. So why do you want to put it on this lady who has nothing to do with you or your family, for her to mend bridges and get your son to come visit you? Like, that's just bullshit.
For someone who's very familiar with the whole, idea concept of no contact, when I was a kid, I asked myself a lot of questions. Just kids' curiosity. So I have an uncle that I hear them talk about a lot, whom I've never met. Nobody knows what he looks like or remember what he looks like. Have a picture of him. Because he disappeared from he was like I think late teenage or early 20s, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. Um so then there's that person. So then there's also the people who just of them, they exist, but they just don't come around. Um and then you have the ones who come around and complain a lot. And it's just like, as a kid, like I used to be curious, like why would someone, like especially like family, why would someone just disappear and not show up again, not like want anything to do with the family or come around the family or whatever? Why would they just fall off the face of the earth? Now as an adult, I understand exactly why. And usually those people are usually like the strongest, who want something different from the family dynamic that they've been
Yeah.
having with the trauma and the drama and abuse, mental abuse and all of that. And you just have people who just disappear. They just disappear, and not disappear like go missing, but they just move away completely and go start their own life, not having or wanting anything to do with these people. And people who come from like good family, or like okay families, usually look at people like that like, oh, I could never, that's my family, whatever, whatever. But everyone's family dynamic isn't the same,
Mm-hmm.
right? And even if they understand that, oh, some really bad things happen, they're always like, but at the end of the day, you're still your family. No. And sometimes people just really need to get away to be who they are, be themselves, or just to
Yeah.
have general peace. So in cases like that, like I would never, I probably would have lost my job, because I probably would have turned to that client and be like, I'm sure somewhere along the line you have an idea why this person doesn't want to reach out or come or anything like that.
There we
So
go.
you trying to force this person like, oh, I'm dying and whatever, like I don't know what you want the person to do about that. I'm sure if this person has like done all of that and moved away and gone no contact for like years, they've also come to terms that one day you will die. They won't be in your life, and you will die. They and as the video said, the person's like, yes, you can tell me if they die, but I'm just not coming, right? So this person has already accepted the fact that we will never exist in the same universe together. But at least I'd like to know when you're no longer on
Mm-hmm.
this earth. So maybe I can grieve in my own way. But the parent trying to guilt trip the child into like, absolutely not. I
Exactly.
wouldn't. I wouldn't.
So I have two more things to say about this. One, the nurse also said he's a very lovely guy in hospice. He's very nice. But at the end of the day, she doesn't know what he did,
What the
why his
80
son doesn't
years
want
of
to,
his
and it's not
life,
her
yeah.
job to go out of her way to get your son to come visit. And like he couldn't understand that and was like upset with her and arguing. And then in my head, I'm like, even though he's very nice, she must now be realizing, oh, probably this is why he's not coming around, because now you're showing your true self. This is who
And
you really are.
also, I think sometimes it take like removing yourself from situations like that for people to really, really realize how serious it is, how much of an impact
Hmm.
like it had on the other person. And sometimes they do have some sort of remorse or like they change. But by this time, baby, like it's way, way,
It's
way
too
too late.
late. It
Because
really
from
is.
go ahead.
No, I was just saying it's too late.
Exactly, and from my experience, once anyone decides to really and truly go no contact and like start a life, they've absolutely killed you.
Hmm.
Not physically, but they've killed you and you
Mentally,
no
you,
longer exist. Yeah, you're dead to
because
them.
his father was probably dead to him 20 years ago.
20 years ago, he's a
Like
whole different person, like
he
probably have
has
a
moved
happier life.
on.
Exactly.
He has grown up.
So,
And then the second thing I wanted to mention, because you mentioned something about every family dynamic is different, and people are always saying, "Oh, but it's your family; you should always be there for them." M- I can say I grew up in what I would consider a good home, good parents, all that, right? My mother is of the opinion like what you just said. Like every like she would tell me about people at her church. For instance, this one lady where she's going to the same church where her mom goes, but she doesn't talk to her mother at all. And her mother's always like, "Oh, I don't know why. She doesn't even want me to see the kids and blah blah blah." And she was telling me about her and getting all venting and whatever. And I said to her, because as much as I didn't grow up in a situation like that, I can empathize and understand with some people that sometimes you just have to remove yourself from the situation, mother or not, whether it's blood or not. Sometimes you just have to remove yourself, because at the end of the day, you're only seeing what you're seeing from the outside. You don't know what happened to them, what happened to her, what happened to him growing up all these years, and what they had to go through, and why they decide to step away from that relative, whether it's their birth mother or father. At some point, people get to a point where they just literally have to remove themselves from the situation, because that's the only way they can take themselves away and heal and live their lives.
and have some sort of peace. And I'm finding
Yes.
it difficult, like, um, and I think I've said this a lot or like hint about it a lot. Like for those who don't know, my relationship like with my family, relationship like that wasn't anything good. It's been now over a year and then some since I've fully gone like no contact from people. And it's like it's okay for me. It's my story, it's my life, it's whatever. I've gotten used to it, right? I'm in a
Mm-hmm.
much better place now when it comes to thinking about things like that. But it's so difficult, and I wish people would stop doing this. It's so difficult having conversations with people who cannot relate.
Yep.
Like
Or even
they
if they can't
think
relate, they can't empathize.
they can't empathize. It's just like, okay, well, I could never, whatever, whatever. I'm like, okay, you could never because you had mommy and daddy, or maybe you had mommy, or whatever the case it may be, up until a certain point in your life, or they're still in your life. Da, 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 da. Please take the lenses off and look around you. Listen to people, not just look at your own experience,
Yeah.
and understand that some people just have these really negative experience when it comes to family. So if someone said to you that, hey, I had to go no contact, or like take myself away from the equation, don't just look at them like I could never, and why would you, let's be
That big
serious for a
gasp.
second.
Like, what's that
Let's be
all that
really
for?
serious for a second, because not everyone have the same experiences, and you
Mm-hmm.
just don't know sometimes the length that people have to go just to find peace. And I'm of this mindset where it doesn't matter who, what, or whatever the case it may be. Your job, if it's stressing you out that much, cut it off. A friend, whatever. Like, if you have to remove yourself from any person, any place, any situation, so that you can be comfortable or have some peace of mind, do it.
Exactly.
And don't let anyone guilt trip you that, oh, whatever. No, you know what you're facing. You know what you've gone through with these people, whatever. And it's a
Exactly.
constant rhetoric. Like, just, let people be. Even
There
if
we
you're not
go.
able to understand, like, empathize, like, come on, not everyone have this perfect life. And I find it very hard to talk to these people because they can't see past the lens of their own experience. And it's
Upbringing
like,
and what they have been through.
yeah, and it's like other people's experiences, it doesn't exist at all
I
because
get
they
that.
can't fathom it. Because I can, like, look at their experiences and be like, oh, I wish I had that. That's what I should have had. But at the end of the day, I didn't have that. So I'm just like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But I can still understand that, whatever. I'm not going to look at it and be like, oh, because I didn't have it, you shouldn't have it. No, that's the
And
way
you
it should
grow
be.
and you evolve and you learn and you live and you move on. We
Exactly.
keep it moving. God. So I just saw that video and was like, this seems like something I have a lot to say about. So we should talk about it. That's why I've said it to you. But I was just I would I it just rubbed me the wrong way because I'm like you're acting all entitled like she has to do everything to get him to come visit you. No, she doesn't. At the end of the day,
And
she
let,
does not. It's not her job.
and let me say this too, because for someone who's done that, because I don't talk to, I only communicate with my younger brother. There's nobody else, and I have a lot of relatives. There's nobody else that I talk to or have an interest in talking to, and I'm saying this not just as a, like, I mean, I probably sound cold saying this, but it's not the
Uh-huh.
easiest thing to do. You still miss these people, like you still wish you could have had like these people in your life or shit like that, but it doesn't work like that. And you have to make the decision for yourself that
Mm-hmm.
you're better off without them. No, and then I might slip up, or like, I might like check their social media or some shit like that. And, you see that they're over, whatever. But it's at the end of the day, that is just it.
And you're
And
human.
if
Like you're of
if it
course
is
you're going
that,
to have feelings.
exactly, and if it is that you're on the other end of the spectrum, say for example you're from the family or whosoever, where someone that you knew like decided to go no contact and not talk to you guys again, please resist the urge to constantly reach out to that person. When you do, that person just feels stressed, like, oh, these people just won't leave me alone. You're not
Suffocating.
doing something good. It's more of a, so it's just things like that.
The moment you said that might sound cold, that brought back memories to me because I've said that to my mother before where it concerns my dad's side of the family because I'm not that close to them. And I've told my mom straight up, like, I don't care what happens to them, what any of them are doing, because growing up, they were never the nicest to me. And they don't treat me like I'm a part of the family. So why we're only family by blood, but by nothing else? I don't care. And if any of them should die, I'm never going to any of their funerals because I just don't give a fuck about them. And I
And
said to my mom, like, that might sound harsh, but at the end of the day, I'm in my 30s. I'm entitled to feel how I want to feel. And I don't hate them. I just don't need to have anything to do with them because we're not that close. So I just don't care what happens to that side of the family.
that's it for me too. And it's just like, they're already dead to me.
There
They
we
are.
go.
So if they actually do physically die or shit like that, I'd be like, okay.
And I look at it and I've said this a lot. Like growing up, it is so sad that most times strangers are nicer to you than your own family. Because when my aunt died on my dad's side, and my mom told me, my response was, okay. And then when her coworker died, I literally cried because I was closer to her to my mom's coworker than I was to my own aunt. And that is sad. Like when she told me she died, I literally had no feelings about it. My response was literally okay. What else was I going to say? And then she tried to get me to talk to my cousin. I'm like, I've never spoken to this man on the phone. Why do you want me to talk to him now that his mother has died? And then she gave, and this is what I don't like about some family. She gave him the phone because she was there at the hospital and everything. Gave him the phone, and he's on the phone crying to me, and I'm just there like, "Oh, it's very sad. I'm so sorry to hear. She's in a better place." And it's just like,
Oh my
this is so
god.
awkward because we've never spoken on the phone before. That was literally the first time we've ever spoken on the phone. And he is, I want to say he's like 3 years older than me. So, we somewhat grew up around in the same area and whatever, but we just never had any contact. So it's like, why am I talking to you now? What am I going to say to you? It was just so weird.
And you're right. Because the way I think about those people right now is just like, it's kind of sad. I do miss y'all, but at the same time, like, I'm so much more better mentally. Like, in a
Yeah.
lot of ways. I'm not getting comments or, certain, sly remarks or shit like that from people who I should, love and care about. And it's just like, my life is so peaceful.
Mm-hmm. And then the thing is, when you finally let go, it brings a level of calm to you. Because recently, this happened with me recently. All this time, like my mom would bring them up to me, and I would get so upset and would be like so angry. And every time I remember them and stuff, because trust me, they've done a lot of shit during my childhood growing up to me and my mom, right? And the last time she mentioned, me and my dad literally got in an argument, and I hung the phone up on him because I'm like, I'm not going to argue back and forth with you. This is my phone. I don't need to do this. Right. And when everything was said and done, I was driving to work and I literally sat in the car and was like, you know what? God, I'm asking you, help me to forgive these people and to let it go. And honestly, after I did that, I felt a level of peace. Like I can talk about them now. My mom can bring them up to me and all these things. And I don't get upset. I don't get angry because I think I've gotten to a point now where it's just like, okay,
Whatever.
exactly. That's where I'm at right now. And
And
like
I'm glad you go ahead.
if I see them, hey, how are you? Just like anybody else. But I'm just not at the point where just the mere mention of that side of my family upsets me anymore.
And that's how you know, like, you've truly healed or moved past for something, because
Hmm.
like, you can just forgive people and people are like, oh, you forgive them but you don't talk to them. I hate that. You
You
can
don't need
forgive
to.
people, but still don't have them in your life. Like, just live or be somewhere else away from me, but you don't necessarily have to be in my life. Because I have forgiven people. Like, if I do have to talk about it, I don't really feel any way or bitter or angry or anything anymore. It is what it is. And like, I've accepted it. I've forgiven these people, but I just no longer want them in my life. And sometimes this is for the best too, because when you've come to terms with everything that they've done and all of that, and you've forgiven them, having them or reintroducing them into your life will cause future things that you have to now heal from again.
Yeah.
um Going no contact just puts like a stop on it. You've forgiven them, and there's nothing to add or take away from your experience with them again. It's just, you left it in the past. You moved on from these people, and
And
it's whatever.
also, if they weren't in your life before, why would they be in your life now, even though you've forgiven them? That makes no
Exactly, and like
sense.
you feel, and like you come out at the other end of the tunnel, and like you feel just so happy, and like it's all unicorns and rainbows in your life, and you're just like, why would I go back? I've also evolved in a different person. Like, I no longer relate to you guys anymore. So
Hmm.
there's also that.
There's also that.
Anyways, what's the
Yes.
other thing you want? What's the other thing you wanted to talk about?
Or you didn't write on anything this week? I
Don't
have
worry
the
about
topics
that.
this week. Okay.
I mean, mhm.
Well, the other two aren't that serious. So one of them, I don't, since we're in October, it's Halloween. I wanted to talk about that. Like, are you a fan of Halloween, stuff like that? Do you get into it?
I'm not really a fan because I'm not American.
Mm-hmm.
And let me just retract that statement, because you don't have to be American per se. But I feel as if I had grown up here, and naturally, when you grow up somewhere, certain things just like become like a part of you,
A
like
part of you.
subconsciously, whatever. I'm not really a fan, but I'm also not opposed to it. I've always wanted to go to like a party, but I don't know, for some reason, since I've been here and this is a third trip around, I I've just never really gotten invited to like a Halloween party or something for me to really
Yeah.
like say dress up or whatever. And I know some people like they dress up or like they cosplay for Halloween and like they just take pictures and they post it and they don't really do anything. You could also do something like that, but I don't really have a problem with it. The whole idea though of Halloween movies and shit like that. I'm not really a fan of scary movies, so I don't really care for
Really?
that aspect. I don't like scary movies. Well,
I did not know this.
I used to be really afraid of them, but now it's just like, okay, whatever. It's rather really funny how dumb y'all are,
I
but
didn't know this. I honestly thought you liked the spooks.
it involves a lot of blood. I don't really like a lot of seeing a lot of brutal, um
Yeah, but not all Halloween movies
morbid
have to do with killing
the
and stuff.
blood, this excessive blood, and the neck is slit and they're just holding the neck and the blood is spraying. Shit like that makes
No,
me
you're talking about
squeamish.
thrillers.
All of them, the same shit. Whatever. They
So
all
wait.
come from the same
Oh,
line, the family line.
so
They're
wait.
all cousins.
Have you ever
Um,
seen Final Destination?
of course I have, but there's certain scenes where I just have to look away because it's
Oh,
too
really?
brutal. Isn't the word? There's
I
another
didn't
word.
know this.
There's another word for shit like that.
Gruesome.
Gruesome. Yeah, it's too
Mm-hmm.
gruesome, especially when it comes to human. How some of it is not like it's a oh it's a stab and the camera pans away. It's a stab and the blood
So,
is gushing out. The organs are falling out. That's a little bit traumatizing.
so you don't watch like paranormal stuff?
I do, especially now, because I
Okay.
think my perception changed when I. So I was obsessed with competition shows some years ago. So I used to watch
Yeah.
Face Off, um, where they show how they put on prosthetics, makeup, make fake blood and shit like that, blah blah
Mm-hmm.
blah. How they will do certain tricks in movies, like the slitting of the wrist. And when I watched that show for quite some time, it kind of changed my perception on the realism of a lot of these visual effects. And because of that, now like I just kind of find it funny, not
Okay.
really
So
scary
then,
anymore.
so then you're not really a fan of like thrillers where you see people getting killed and cuts and
No.
stuff like that. But like
Mm-mm.
paranormal stuff, you'll watch like Exorcism of Emily Rose and stuff like that.
Yeah. Mm.
Okay. But honestly, all this time I had no idea. I thought you loved all those things. I don't know why. But then we never
I
spoken
like
about this
this
before.
exactly. I like the supernatural.
Okay.
Um, but certain scenes like even witches show where they slit in wrists and shit like that, I will
Yeah.
probably turn away because it's blood.
Okay.
I don't like seeing excessive blood. It kind of.
Speaking of witches show, are you watching Agatha?
Of course, I'm watching Agatha.
Okay. All right. Oh,
It was
that fire
Agatha all
episode. What
along.
was that? I did not like that episode. The last episode was good. But the one before that was
Yeah, a lot of
like,
them, the episodes before felt like filler.
yeah, and then
I don't know how
also
to say it, but it
I've
felt like
said this to
filler.
you before that I'm not a fan of musicals. And in that episode with the fire chick, they could have done so much more with it. And then that song that they had in the middle of the episode had it didn't do anything for the plot. It didn't move it forward. It didn't do anything. I'm like, why is this song here? Makes no sense. And
And
it
I
just feels
mean,
like lazy writing to me.
let me
But
tell
I
you what
love the last episode.
one of the issue is, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? When you have these breakout series, and I call it the Disneyfication of series, right? We all know Disney. So Disney always had this whole musical in their animated things, in their live action things, da da da. Da. Because of that, you always have this one or two breakaway song that gets huge and make all this money and get all these awards and all of these things. So a lot of series tend to try to follow that format so they can get like a breakaway song, but it's just so corny sometimes,
But it
like
doesn't fit
it doesn't
everything.
fit everything and it's just like more of a distraction. um and I
Because,
know a good soundtrack will help boost sales and shit like that with movies and shit like that, but it doesn't always work.
but look at Because when realized that this thing is probably going to have a lot of songs in it was when they said, "Oh, we got the people who wrote the Agatha All Along because it was such a big hit and blah blah blah." So like, okay, so clearly you guys are going to try to recreate that magic, which that made sense in that moment for that show. And then the song that they did in the first episode, I didn't have a problem with it because that song actually told you what was going to happen throughout the season. Also, it was a way to open the freaking door that they need to get on the road. So that made sense. But I'm like, why do you need to have multiple songs? It makes no sense. Just have the one song and then that's it.
But of course, they're not going to do that because everybody looking for a big hit,
But
especially Disney.
but I've also noticed because I watch a lot of stuff and I've noticed that when it comes to American TV and movies, they love to have musicals and everything. But when you watch like British and like other countries and their stuff, they actually have solid writing going on and they don't need to lean on a song for it to make sense.
And
Why can't they do that here?
I said this to someone the other day. I feel as if um because I think it's the other day when they had this whole writer strike thing. I
Mm-hmm.
really thought about it that you have a whole organization and companies that all of these series get sent to, and they write whatever and it gets
Yeah,
greenlit or whatever the case it may be. And I'm like, maybe the writers that we had like years ago are completely different people, because series used
probably.
to be built on a 20 something episode. And if you're hearing all these commotions with these dogs, it's a doggy daycare down there. They be doing the most for whatever reason.
To be honest,
But
when it's not triggered. Your mic is not triggered when you're not talking. So
okay, okay.
yeah,
All right. So, anyways, so I'm like, series used to be written with a 20 episodes, um, like span, but
like
within the
a season.
first, yeah, but within the first 5 6 episodes, you're getting a full on plot change or plot development, and then another 3 4 is the same thing, and
And it
then
keeps you
it
drawn
leads and it
in.
keeps you drawn in until the end. I've realized with a lot of these series, I have to watch 7 to 8 to 9 episodes, and mind you, not once you get to that climax episode, this season finishes in the
The
next
season is
one.
finishing. Like, wait,
So it's
that's it.
like you spend all that time trying to figure out what's going on, 5 6 7 episodes, only for you just to figure out in the eighth, and then that is like the final. I hate that so much, because it's like, it's this meme where I say, "Here you go. I hope you're hungry." For nothing, because you
For
get to the
nothing.
end and I'm so disappointed. Like the last House of the
American.
Dragons,
Oh, I thought you were talking about American
like the
Horror
last House of the
Story.
Dragons series.
I
They
haven't seen
talk
that.
so much. They talk, and for people who've watched it, they talked so much to get to the end for nothing to happen.
Mm,
I'm like that's right, the last American Horror Story
the one
season.
with Kim.
Like,
That's the one we're talking
they did
about.
too much, this twist and turn and all of this. And I remember saying to you that episode 5 or 6, when they started talking about this other witch, and when we actually got the idea of these witches and shit, I'm like, this should
Mm-hmm.
have been the pilot
They should
episode.
have been episode one. I remember we
What?
were talking about
Because
that.
all
Like that
of
should have
them
been the
things
first
before, none
episode.
of it made sense.
And then it got to the end, and we were sitting there like, "That's
This
it.
is it. Exactly.
The season is finished." Wait, what?
I'm like, and
And
I blame
and
Netflix for
that
this too, you know.
that has left a bad taste in my mouth, especially because we
Mm-hmm.
love American Horror Story, and I'm not interested in watching the new season because of what happened last season and the season before that, because the season before that was not that good either. I still haven't finished watching that season.
And that's one of the, yeah, that's one of the things that's kind of getting me like disinterested in a lot of series, because I start watching it and like I'm so bored.
And
Like,
if I lose interest in something and I tell you I'm not going to watch it, I'm not going to watch it.
because my brain now is like that New York meme. Do you know you have 30 minutes? Like, the moment I start watching that shit, you
But it's
30,
true.
30. Yeah, you gotta really in and it goes not just for series, movies, animes, and shit like that. If you
Books.
don't grab me in the first episode or two, the first pages, the opening scene, I'm just on my phone and it turned into background noise. 'Cause
Because,
it's not.
like some shows are like slow burners. For instance, Game of Thrones when it just started, you have to get to like the first couple of episodes, right? Shameless when it just started, I tell people get through episode 3. Episode 4 is when it really gets going. So once you get through those episodes, like you're good, but then that's not a whole season. It's literally 1, 2, 3 episodes, and then everything is good after that. So when I have to sit down and wait 9 episodes for this thing to get good, that makes no sense. I'm not going to watch the next season because last season was boring.
Oh, you gotta wait until episode 4 or 5 for it to get good. Absolutely not. We will not be watching.
Whenever I
It
said 4 or 5, I
it's
said get through episode 1 and 2."
no. But a lot of things these days, it's four or
Oh
five
yeah,
that
yeah.
you
I
have
see
to
what you mean.
get
I see
through,
what
and
you
I'm
mean.
like,
Yeah.
that's I don't have that. From I think also right now everything is so fast paced, so that also kind of affects like our attention span. So it's just like if it is that you don't get to the point, people just lose interest because nobody got time to sit around wasting time or committing to something that
Is that Tostitos behind you?
yes, a whole bag of
Oh,
Tostitos.
look at you, fancy.
Whenever I have
What
my
dip do
movie
you
nights,
use
I
with
pull.
that?
I do have the sauce and I do have the queso,
Oh,
which is
queso.
cheese.
Mm, fancy.
Ah, it's not fancy. What the hell? It's not even that
I'm just messing
expensive.
with you.
Like,
Just messing with you.
exactly.
When you just move and I
Um,
saw the bag, I was like, what is that?
yes, but I don't really have the attention span. Like, you need to
Yeah.
grab me, hold me, and maybe if you grab me, hold me, and lose me for 2 episodes down the line. I'm like, okay, all right. At least these give my brain that this fillers. But you can't be starting these series like fillers like
Yeah, it
that.
makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense.
But anyways,
Yeah.
one of the things I wanted to talk about dating apps.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
What say you?
I've I've never really.
The heavy ass sigh, yo. It's
Oh,
like
I was wondering what the hell.
the heavy
I've
ass sigh.
I've never really been a fan of the apps ever since I was younger. Why is my laptop saying energy saver on? Why?
You need to
Ew.
plug that hole in.
Oh yeah. It has time.
Not that has time and then it cut shit off and
No,
then
it
we have
has
to
time.
start.
Actually have time.
Okay.
It's at 20%. Okay. So basically, I've never really been a fan of the apps when I was younger. Even now, because you know me, I'm not really into like hookup culture and stuff like that. And a lot of guys on the apps, that's what they're there for. They're there to find someone to hook up with and whatever. And then a lot of the time you're on there, you tend to like waste your time because you might connect with someone, and then two,
It
three
turned out to be
days
a waste of
later,
time, yeah.
it turns out to be a waste of time. Like you just wasted my time. Those 4 hours, I can't get them back. Those 4 days, I can't get them back. Right. So, like when Grinder was like it's still a big thing. But I remember the once and one and only time I ever joined Grinder, I was on it for like an hour. I was like, this is not for me. And I came off.
Because the moment you open it, there's an ass picture, a dick picture right up in your face. There's no like, hi, hello, hello, how
There's
are you?
nothing. And like, whatever happened to chivalry? Whatever happened to courting?
But I
Sounds like I'm
like
old
the
person. But some of them I will say are good. Like Bumble. Bumble is a good one. Tinder is also a good one. But then when it gets like to
unhinged.
Grinder, Unhinge, Jacked, Scruffed, Sniffies. No, there's one called Blowies or Blowers. Like when you get to those, I'm like, okay, no, I'm not going to do that with you guys.
But I like the video that well, you didn't send it to me, but a friend sent it to me of how people used to meet people, and I
I'm
think
going to plug in my laptop. It's down to 19.
the survey started in like 1979 or something like that, and you
Yeah.
realize how much people used to meet people based on the fact that they went to college together and it was through a friend, and like the fact people met people through friends a lot, and this shows you how much people used to hang out and not just like be on their phones or go to the clubs or shit like that, and like people would meet college, like that was a high percentage would like they meet their partner or spouse in college, and then you see as the
Yeah.
years go by, when it got to 1993, Meeting people online was at the bottom of the survey of the chart, the graph,
And
whatever.
now it's like at
It
the top of
shot
it.
it shot to the top, like not even like in a year or two, like it just shot to the top. And it kind of just everything is online. And
Yep.
I can't tell
Every
when
single
last I
thing.
cannot, and I remember, and by the way, I'm not old, but I remember when I was like in my teens, a lot of the people I met back then, I met them through somebody else.
Yeah.
Um,
That's true.
but no, a lot of the people that I meet now, I meet them online.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a really, really long time that I've met someone through someone. So the idea of
That is so true.
meeting people through work or like common spaces that y'all frequent at the same time, that has happened to me. Like I've met people at the gym, I've met people at work, da 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 da. But in terms of meeting people through someone, that hasn't happened to me in a long time.
That
A
is so
very,
true. Now
very,
that you
very,
say
very
it.
long time. And everything is just so online now. And then the gays, TM, they love to have sex and all of that, which is nothing wrong. I don't slut shame. Like, live your best life. But there's also people who genuinely go on these apps because they're introverted. They don't do the clubs, or the
Yep.
other activities that people be doing all the time. Not just
I'm
gay people too,
people.
straight people too. They just don't be doing the clubs, the bar, another club sort of shit. So it's just like they are not that social. So they have the phone, the laptop in front of them. They can just open it and see if they can meet someone. So when people judge people like, oh, you know damn well you're not on Grinder to meet friends. And no, of course it's a sex app and people are there, whatever. But some people are genuinely open to that. Of course they're
Yeah.
gonna maybe fuck her too, but they're genuinely open to meeting a friend or a partner or whatever the case it may
Making
be.
connections and
Making
stuff.
connections, because people don't hang out as much. And a friend of mine was here and it's kind of funny what I said to him because he was like, "Oh, any games night or limes like that we could go to." And I'm like, this is not Jamaica. I understand that was a very fun experience for us, like just going around hanging out with our friends at limes, and you'd meet people that way. But I'm also like, you live in a big city. This is New York. Most people have roommates these days because of how expensive things are. Or even if they don't have roommates, they live in apartments that they can be all rowdy until 3, 4 o'clock in the because they don't. It's not a separate house. So they
Yep.
get a noise complaint. So there's just not that vibe anymore. And I'm like, I realized that I never hated going out. I just hated always having to go to public spaces. The more
Clubs. Yep.
intimate spaces with your friends and friends of friends, who vet for them. Those were just so fun and so
Mm-hmm.
much
That's
cheaper
true.
too, because instead me and you going to the club and we're spending $200, that $200 spent between 10 people is like this person bringing some chips, this people, and we've
And then
lost
you have
that
like a game
completely.
night and everybody just have fun. But
And
the
sleep
thing is
over
like
on the floor all over, and everybody leave the next morning. That was so fun.
people still people still do that, but it's like I realize people who've had these friend groups for years,
Years, yeah.
and it's literally the same core people that they invite out all the time or invite to their house, and then event, and then those, let's say they have a group of four, right? The four of us started hanging out years ago. Eventually you partner up, whatever, then those partners get involved, and then they all start coming to the sleepover, to the lime, to the game night, and it just becomes like a big group eventually. But at the core, it's those four. Like, it's literally the people that were there from the beginning. And then
And
as outsiders, it's very hard to get into those groups because they already have their friends. They're not looking for anybody new. So for
and a
people who are
lot of
trying to make
these
friends, it's very hard.
and if you live in the city where I live in, there's a lot of these groups aren't diverse as they
Yeah.
seem to be, and I'm not talking about just race, but I generally also realize that people tend to stick to the race that they're the race, ethnicity, whatever they're from.
Yeah.
Because you look at someone and you're like, if someone says to me that they want to be friends with me, I do this thing where I look at their friend group to see what the demographic of those people are like. If you're, say for example, Latin and all of your friends are Latinos, I'm like, more than likely you really and truly don't want to be friends with me because I don't see anybody else like me in your friend group. Um it's something I've done, and it's not just friendship. It comes with like relationships too and shit like that. I'm just
Yeah.
like, I don't really know how to, whatever. And it's
Because then you and
also
that person might have common interests, but then when the friend group links up, you're like, okay, why am I here?
exactly, and it's also very what's the word? What's the word I want to use right now?
This is the second time today. Words are losing you today.
like based on class too, class finances and shit like that, because some people form their friend groups specifically because of, okay, all of these people are doctors and lawyers and blah blah blah, so there's that
Oh yeah.
aspect too. And there's the aspect of all of these people are extremely pretty, or aesthetic, or go to the gym, and you
Yeah.
know or all these people look like me, they look like my lifestyle. There's also these all different type of things. But yeah,
It is what it is.
it is life.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, I don't consider dating apps bad things. I don't really like to get out my house, to be honest. Most of these times, it's very
Yeah, like
hard
they're
to get me
not
to leave the
bad. It's
house.
just that it's just hard to really find genuine connections on them.
People just aren't honest, and I hate that.
Yeah.
Uh,
I like when people are honest, just come up front and tell me exactly what it is you're looking for. Let me
exactly,
decide if
because
I want to go along with it or not.
like on Tinder, they put all of these nice bios and shit like that, and they know that they just want to fuck. Like, just say, "I'm just here for a good
Right?
time." Just come on, come on. Stop with the dramatics. I'm looking for this and my happy ever
When you
after
know
this.
you're not,
That you just want to fuck. Like, come
you just want to get your back blown out. That's all you
on.
want.
Or blow somebody
Or
back
to blow
out,
someone's backs out.
or multiple people out. Shit like that.
Right?
But it's ciao. Anyways.
Anyways. Is this the end of this episode?
Yes, sir.
Alrighty then. With that said, guys, we've come to the end of another episode of Shiggles. Hope you enjoyed this one. And we'll. Oh, I've been that guy, Rickster.
And this was Darian.
And we will catch you in the next one.
Bye,
Goodbye.
guys.